is Mina Liccione, and today I'm going to talk to you about the only thing I really know anything about, and that's my experience. Like most women, I wear many hats. I'm a performing artist, I'm a part-time arts professor, a full-time wife, entrepreneur, and comedian, and when I grow up, I really want to be a tap dancing humanitarian. It's my dream. And long before I identified myself as a comedian, comedy was a big part of my life. And I blame that on my Italian-American father. And my dad, you know, it's like, even when he cooks, still to this day, he talks to the food, he sings to the food, he tells the food jokes as he's cooking it. Hey, if the food is happy, you're gonna be happy, okay? So, and the older that I got, the more I started realizing that comedy was integrating itself into every aspect of my life, whether I liked it or not. For example, when I auditioned for Stomp, for those of you who don't know the show Stomp, it's a Broadway show that makes music out of everyday objects, and it's a percussion show, and there's also dance involved. And I showed up that day, and there was hundreds of people lined up down the New York street, and they brought us in 20 people at a time. And I quickly realized that everyone else there was a professional drummer, except for me. And at the end of a very grueling audition, they made us get up one at a time and perform a 4-bar body percussion solo. The first guy got up, and he's like doing beats, he's going crazy, and I'm starting to sweat and panic, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? Why am I here? I can't compete with this. And I was like, wait a minute. That's right, I can't compete with that. But what do I have what are my strengths? And I was like, I'm a really good dancer, and I'm funny. So when I got up there to do my 4-bar body percussion solo, I proceeded to perform an armpit fart symphony, kicked my leg in the air, did a spin, went to do a split, and split my pants. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the real way that I got the job in performing on Broadway. It wasn't the years of dance training or my dance and theater degree. It was my sense of humor and my ability to know my weaknesses and strengths. And then Stomp took us to San Francisco. We toured the world, but we ended up in San Francisco for a few years, and they asked me to go, and I said, sure. And a man stayed after one of the shows, and he came up to me and he said, "You're a clown." I was like, I'm a clown. I was like, is that supposed to be a compliment? I don't know if I'm a clown. And he was like, yes, you're a physical comedian, and you would be an excellent theatrical clown. And he proceeded to tell me that he was the director of a clown conservatory as part of this big circus school, and he wanted to offer me a scholarship. So I said yes. And I ended up being a circus student by day and a Broadway performer at night. And I learned all kinds of crazy circus skills, trapeze arts, and something very important as part of the clown program was clown therapy. And this was the first time that I really started to look at my art in a different way. Up until then, it was very much ego. It was very much about the applause and making people laugh and giving them a fantastic show. This was the first time I started to think about the healing power of humor. And many of the benefits of laughter is it reduces pain, strengthens immune function, decreases stress, improves relationships, boosts your energy and self-confidence, releases inhibition, helps you express your true feelings, and it battles depression by making troubles seem small. And I was fascinated by this. And then that led right into clowning in hospitals. And this was life-changing for me, because I was really used to having the lights in my eyes and hearing people applaud, but I didn't really get that one-on-one interaction. So to go from performing in these huge stages to a performance of just one was monumental. And the concept was very simple: to help the kids remember the clowns more than the pain. And day after day, time after time, the well-being of both the patients and the staff was raised. There was more hope, there was less stress, and there was a lot more laughter. And right around that same time, I accidentally started doing stand-up comedy. It literally was on accident. I was booked to MC this big event, and there was technical difficulties, and the woman organizing it was like, Mina, go do something funny. She pushed me out on stage, and I just started talking. I started telling funny stories. I started improvising with the audience, and I was like, okay, let me get through this. After the show, people came up to me and they were like, you need to do stand-up comedy. You're a natural. And I was like, no thanks. I'm an artist. Stand-up comedy. I was like, in stand-up comedy, the majority of the comedians that I saw perform were very vulgar. It was very masculine and it was negative. And I was like, that's not who I am. It's not what I want to be. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. There's Seinfeld, there's Bill Cosby, and that's not their voice. This would be my voice. Why not? So I started writing. I started writing jokes. I started writing sketches. And I noticed a pattern was happening, that the majority of the material I was coming up with was based on difficult experiences in my life or embarrassing situations. And I quickly realized that pain in time was comedy. And when I could laugh at my painful experiences, that means I've healed from them. And then in turn, I can help other people heal from theirs. And when I started performing stand-up, I got the biggest laughs whenever I talked about something that was really honest or really embarrassing. And they were laughing because they've also experienced something similar to that, but didn't have enough courage to stand in front of 400 people and admit it. And I really liked this whole idea. I really loved this idea that comedy can help heal. So my eyes were open to that. And when I went back to New York, I went to visit my great aunt in a senior center, and I was really bothered by the fact that no one was smiling. No one was smiling. There was a loneliness, and there was a deep depression filling the room. And I thought to myself, I'm a comedian. It's my job to bring love and light to people. What can I do to help? So I created a character. I created a character geared towards senior citizens, and her name is Audrey Hepburn. I love you. It's pleased to meet you. You're gorgeous. And she was crazy. She was over the top, and I wrote a 1-hour show, and I toured 20 different senior centers around New York State performing over the holidays. And I'm the one who applauded them because I hung out with them afterwards, and I let them tell me stories, and I was just fascinated by everything they had to tell me. And I remember one woman in particular stayed after the show, and she said, "Oh, sweetie, thank you so much. I haven't felt this young in years." And that resonated with me. That made her feel young. So I took it a step further, and Audrey decided to visit places that senior citizens hung out at. And that is a real picture of a priest. He's not in a costume. And I started interviewing people about what was their secret to staying young at heart. And the top 2 answers were love and laughter. And not too long after, I received a phone call saying, from a booking agent saying, "We've booked you for 1 week in Dubai to perform." And I was like, where? They're like, Dubai. And I'm like, and where is that? And they're like, the Middle East. And then they started saying, but it's very nice and it's very safe, but all I heard was the Middle East. And at the time, I didn't know, the only thing I knew about the Middle East was what American media had taught me, and it wasn't very pleasant. So, but I'm an open-minded person, so I went on the computer and I did some research, and I said, wow, this looks like a really interesting place. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And I arrived, and I loved the performances. I really enjoyed the people that I met. I got to ask a lot of questions, and everybody that I met kept saying the same thing. We don't have enough comedy here. We don't have enough opportunities for local artists. We need more platforms. You should come back and start a comedy school. So I thought to myself, you know, sometimes comedians need to go where the comedy isn't. And this is an opportunity to create something meaningful and I can't pass that up. So on April 1st, 2008, alongside my now husband and fellow comedian Ali Al-Sayed, we co-founded Dubomini Arts. And our mission and our vision was the same, to use comedy as a tool to bring people of diverse cultures, religious, and financial backgrounds together for a laugh, in hopes of helping people focus on the similarities instead of their differences. And what started off as just a comedy school quickly bloomed into something bigger than we ever could have imagined. We went into festival productions, international tours, and many different initiatives. But one thing that we promised to always stay true to is that we would only perform and teach halal comedy. And we have kept that, And one of our important platforms that we were able to create is Funny Girls. And Funny Girls was something really, we refer to it as historical, because it really empowered women's female comedic voices. And not only did we make the audience laugh, but we helped break stereotypes. And women from all over the world, we like to invite people of very different backgrounds so that we can hear different stories and, inshallah, like I said, break more stereotypes. And Funny Girls got a lot of attention. It got a lot of buzz. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, now that we have this attention, what do we really want to say? How can we use this to maybe help people? So we decided to associate our comedy with a cause that was very important to us, breast cancer awareness. And Healthy Boobies was the name of our campaign. And many, many women love to come to these events because they get to laugh, but the best comedy, I think, doesn't just make you laugh, it makes you think. And that's, inshallah, what we try to do. And keeping with the theme of comedy for a cause, we then went right into creating the Clowns Who Care project. And that is something that's very, very important to us. And the sole purpose of Clowns Who Care is to bring joy, laughter, support, and awareness to those in need. Whether it be hosting and organizing funny raisers, or providing entertainment for charity events, or our core team of Clowns Who Care that make visits. And we looked around the UAE for opportunities. Who could we be of service to? Because you can't force charity down anyone's throat. It has to be something that you ask permission to do. And we started seeing many, many centers for children and young adults with special needs. So we approached them, and they said, please, please come to us. And thank God we did, because they are probably the most beautiful community I have ever had the great honor of working with. And many people ask, so what happens during a Clowns Who Care visit? I'm gonna tell you. Stage one, we put on a show. And not just any show, we put on a good show. We make them laugh, we make them clap, we make them cheer, we make them get really comfortable with us and feel at ease. Stage two, we do a physical activity, because not only is it fun, but it's really good exercise. Sometimes the activity is dance, sometimes it's music therapy. I think you guys were just talking to Ruba with that. And sometimes we do a circus skills workshop, especially with the older kids. They really love it. The next stage is empowerment. And this is when we let the children and young adults take the stage and rock the mic. And not only does it boost their social skills, it boosts their self-esteem, but it inspires everyone else in the room. And the last stage, I think, is the most important one, one-on-one interaction. Every single kid, every single guest must feel loved. They have to leave happier than they were when they came to us. And having this exchange one-on-one can't be bought, it can't be taught. It's something that's just the pure of heart. And we led this into then an outreach program, and we had the great honor and privilege of going to Uganda. And we went with a group of amazing people, and we got to visit the Islamic school, the Zamzam Islamic School, and we also went to the Live It Up Home for Rescued Children. And while we were there, we asked them, what can we do? What more can we do for these kids? We don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of talent, and we have a lot of passion. And the director said, what about an arts camp? And we said, oh yeah. So I got together a group of artists, and we went back over the summer, and we put together a fantastic arts camp for them. They did drama, they did dance, they did comedy, they did circus skills, and they did a lot of visual art. And at the end of the camp, they put on a performance for each other, and we also set up an art exhibit for them to show off their beautiful work. And then we gave them a graduation ceremony, and it was probably one of the most emotional performances that I could imagine. And the next slide is a quote, "Peace begins with a smile," by Mother Teresa. And this quote inspired me so much that I created a social media campaign based on this idea. And the name of it is called Catch a Smile, Small Gestures with Great Love. And we often say you can catch a cold, colds are contagious. Well, so are smiles. So are smiles. And the idea is that we pick a random day of the month, every month, and then we offer a good deed suggestion, and people from around the world perform random acts of kindness on that same day in hopes of bringing more joy to the world and changing the energy. And inshallah, 9 times out of 10, if you give an act of kindness, that person will then pay it forward. So an example of one of our good deed suggestions was for one of the months, the public send in their ideas, and one of them was to perform an act of kindness for somebody who might normally go unnoticed. So what we did was we went to malls and we passed out gifts and thank you notes to a bunch of female bathroom attendants. And they were brought to tears over a small gift and a smile. And this is just one small example of what people around the world have been doing. And again, it doesn't take money. It just takes a little bit of time and the desire to make a change, to help. And I want to leave you with 3 points. If something doesn't exist, don't complain about it, create it. And the great late Maya Angelou, she said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't, change your attitude. And comedy is exactly that. It's an attitude adjustment. Humor, sense of humor, seeing the humor in life is a choice. Happiness is a choice. The next point I wanted to make was let your passion flow into everything you do. There's no need to segregate it. And I think for a lot of people, they think of their art or charity as being something that happens on the side, and it's just a hobby. And I promise you that's not the case. My 2 passions are comedy and charity, and I carry it with me in everything I do. My students in the classroom, we laugh a lot, and many of them now perform for Clowns in Care. As a company, Dubomedy, on a regular basis, we provide entertainment and technical support for charity events. And not just as a comedian or as an artist, but as a human being. In my day-to-day life, I am that annoying person that greets everybody when they come into the elevator. I am that person that always asks the security guard how they're doing. Can I get you some water? How can I be of service? And last but certainly not least, my final thought for you. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, your smile for your brother is charity. And 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, if you smile at somebody, they're going to smile back. And this was just a little bit of my journey that I wanted to share because I realized at some point that my ego was not my amigo, and that as an artist, I have a much bigger responsibility than I ever realized. And as a comedian, there's a much, much bigger purpose of why God gave me this talent. And I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.